Hey peeps, this is Edo here for another Let's Play of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Here with me is Nightshade.
Will we get to the bottom of this?
I sure damn hope so, because I'm done.
Or are we...
I'm so done with this.
Have 6 more episodes of this.
Let's save and find out.
February 25, 12:06. District Court Defendant Lobby number 2.
Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals.
We've come to this, haven't we? It all makes sense now. Gumshoe is blocking us. Why? Gumshoe, why? It was the perfect time. And you blocked us. No! I forever hate Gumshoe. Do you see the tension?
Oh.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Please come
I'll
back later.
Come back later.
Oh, he left. Oh, Detective Gumshoe. What is it? He came back.
You've got a lot of nerve, pals, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me ear. I've seen happier people at funerals.
I take it Lana's having you run errands again?
Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here. She asked me to give you this to you if there was a break in Tode's trial.
What the heck is this? Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. Blah 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 blah. Oh boy.
The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message.
A message?
Yes, she said you done goofed up. But also, if you're planning to take Amhon, you're going to need this book.
I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. I'm gonna toss it to the side.
Like you've done with every single piece of evidence you've received in this case. Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence.
That's where you're wrong, Detective.
Huh?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me.
Mr. Edgeworth.
The real trial today hasn't begun yet.
What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. And the Sky found out she unwittingly caused a man's death. And now you're telling me you want to do more? You've got to be kidding me, pal!
You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there.
What?
And we're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. Nobody hurts my edgy poo.
February 25, 12:52, District Court, Courtroom number 9.
The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor. The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there's some concern that Mr. Edgeworth may have, struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses. I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and... Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. A solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
What? But there's never been in a case example.
The defense has never had this kind of power.
Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal.
Oh, yeah! Then it's settled. Defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. Wright. You do realize this is your last chance? If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls. The time's finally come to bring out the real murderer.
The Blue Badger.
Damn, I'm a blue badger. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything?
As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant had first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. All right, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Oh, God. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
What is this? Some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch.
Your name and occupation, sir.
Worthy, are you sure you want to do this?
Your name and occupation.
Well, so, you want to play hardball, huh?
Please, Mr. Gant.
Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police.
Yeah, I'll act, that's for sure. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony.
Oh, righto. What's with the grim face?
First, let's clear up this SL9 incident.
Oh, you mean that time when Lena's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already.
There are still some things unaccounted for.
Oh? Like what?
Like the role you played in all of this.
Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. Or
both.
You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal?
God, doesn't that make it prove that you're more of a dick than you really are? Weapons.
Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I wish somebody wouldn't. I don't have to give it if I don't want to.
What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify.
Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks.
Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony.
Damn it. Here we go.
Witness testimony, SL9 incident. As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. Whatever.
It works.
When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
Obviously, you're lying.
Is that when Doc was arrested?
He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head.
see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut.
If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I better hit him hard and fast.
Cross-examination SL9 incident.
As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day.
Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that.
Was the defendant Lana Skye also present in the room?
I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it.
So the two of you ran immediately after him, right?
That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first, so Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky?
What's this about a power outage?
Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil when that knife went into his heart, though.
That's not funny. Could you tell us what you saw?
It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying on a heap on the floor, all tangled together.
That's me. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor?
Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls.
Lana and Emma.
Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done.
How can you know that?
Because of the victim's body, it had already been moved.
So that means you found the body near Lana's desk?
That's right. I think you said earlier it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor.
Yes.
Anyway,
So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office?
that's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt, but moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable no matter what the circumstances.
Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you'd be better off staring at the court record.
Were they? Always a smooth talker.
But which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow, I've got to link Gant to the incident. Okay, so it'd have to be the jar because we found the last piece there. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery, but I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up.
Explain yourself.
Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example.
That's the blue badger you showed us earlier.
A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk.
It was found where?
You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation.
Chief Gant, what is the meaning of this?
Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy.
So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery?
Who, me? Or do you mean you?
Me? Why would I have anything to do with that?
Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto?
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation.
Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment.
What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work.
Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene.
My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Witness testimony, evidence, and forgery.
Okay.
Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'll participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Mr. Wright,
Yes, Your Honor?
when investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol.
You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again.
My apologies to you, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know.
Alright, Aji. In return, though...
I know, that place, right?
Huh? What are these guys? Telepathic?
Cross-examination, evidence, and forgery.
I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations.
Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that.
What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped...
Mr. Wright, what are you saying?
Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later.
Later? What are you talking about?
What else? I'm talking of when your fingerprints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, they will prove your investigation was illegal.
I never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that?
This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery.
If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery...
I'm not through speaking yet, Mr. Wright. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered.
Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation?
It will appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced.
Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right. The chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clearly they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know.
Come now, Mr. Wright. Think about it.
How can you look at me in the eye and say that?
Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Nia?
I'm not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Sky.
Well, now do you see?
Really, Chief Gant. At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this.
Oh? I wasn't aware. What is this benefit?
That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police.
Oh.
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive.
Oh, that's a good one.
Huh?
Do you really think I'm that incompetent?
What do you mean?
Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little.
Is that true, Edward? Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway. Ah!
Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at.
And so that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else.
Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There. It's out in the open now. Udgy, will you mind if I change my testimony a little?
By all means, do so. Please do.
I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me.
Oh. Nothing in it for you?
Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana. Sorry, the screen went dark. Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you better think again.
You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone.
Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised.
You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though.
Oh, that's a good one, Worthy.
Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Yes. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you are positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
That's not what I mean.
Very well, I'll ask. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence?
It's obvious. It has to be Lana Sky. They were partners.
Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky? The defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After this SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all this?
He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Oh my god, Judge, really? You hurt my brain sometimes.
Admit it, Chief.
You assisted Lana Sky in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her.
Righto, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something.
What?
Do you have any proof of this? That I control Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing?
Lana. She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Well, which one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her.
Where are they? You better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? What?
Rebel.
Order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious.
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency to accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? That it's impossible!
Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edwards said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. All right, then. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Just remember, I better be good.
You don't know where to process this, don't you?
No, I know what it is. It has to be this.
It's been a while since we went back to that
This
list.
is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. The 7777777.
Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number.
It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits? You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. The same as a remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Yeah! I'm surprised we didn't freaking mention this earlier, but what would I know?
Order. Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing.
Ooh.
The defense search of my office was in violation of regulations.
And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want.
Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone?
I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Mostly because I go pee there.
Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Of course not. Why will he be? I hadn't seen him in days.
You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you just undone yourself. Yes, on that day you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Nana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
The item report. Yeah! Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filed out a lost item report. He wouldn't have to give that report to the chief of police.
Yet you are in possession of the report. Which means you can't be sure if he filed it.
He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day.
He needed to?
Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh.
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room.
I accompanied him.
There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room.
Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman.
Exactly.
But wait! The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort.
Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Oh. But you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body.
No!
Oh, snap! Chief Gant, you didn't.
The murder was most likely committed on the spur of the moment. No one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why else? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body. However, the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there?
I was in the police department the entire day, you know.
And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over there to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so.
Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue, just taking up space. I know what it is!
How could the chief have moved a body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this.
My badge!
This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case?
Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is the screwdriver doing here? It's here because... I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it at the prosecutor's office.
He told me to take it back to the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day back on the murder, I'm Edgeworth.
I'm Edward. Do.
After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean Body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edward's car?
Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edward to carry evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation: to transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye.
Order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
I think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
I believe your time's up.
My time's up?
Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the Hurley Bird special.
But the cross-examination isn't finished yet.
Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all this?
Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you will have presented it by now.
Well,
You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright?
Your Honor?
Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body?
Do I have any concrete proof? I don't, do I?
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
I'm trying to think of any kind of evidence that I have, but when I think about it, I don't. But to say I don't have proof yet... It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor, at present, I have no conclusive evidence.
See, Aji?
In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for the allegations against the chief. What?
I don't gamble unless the stakes are high. Seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Haji, I'll leave the rest to you. Bye-bye.
I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency.
What? Oh. Lady Luck. Maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean?
There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth, another witness. In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room.
Mr. Edward, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today.
Edward! Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist?
She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor! The defense calls forth freaking Lana Sky.
The defendant, Miss Lana Sky?
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 20. Why didn't you say first, Phoenix? No. You said
Even
first
Phoenix
before.
betrayed you.
He's betraying me. No. Her task to dispose of the victim's body in accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edwards.
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in
Hold on?
Huh?
All done!
Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat.
Listen good, Lana.
He's talking to Lana.
I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claim, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder.
This isn't good.
Of course, you'll never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet.
Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
February 25, 2:04 p.m. District Court Defendant Lobby Number 2.
Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edward.
That chief. He's something else, eh, pals?
Detective Gumshoe.
I'm not a detective anymore.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office.
My office?
Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with.
Could you mean Maya?
Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper end?
It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said?
I'm the judge.
Risks. What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true.
That thing that's Lana?
Or
Or
Emma.
Emma.
You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Yeah, this is her. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all, just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone knew her. Said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean to follow Chief Gant's orders? She must have shut herself up deep inside to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold.
It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal.
Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery. He can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor.
I see.
Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait
No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth.
Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this.
And now, it's the true hand game.
In the next episode, we're gonna punch Gant in the face.
We're ending this next time.
This is it.
Get the finale ready.
This is it. This is the finale. We're gonna do this one way or another, and then we'll be done.
Are we going to be done, really?
Yes.
No. We have 60 more games ahead.
No! This is Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, with me and Nightshade.
62 more games.
And we're gonna finish this, so we're out of here.